Just like the street lights lit this town, like a fire in a blaze, gotta burn it down. Can't be afraid to leave this out. We got this far, don't know how. I see danger in your eyes. They know we'll burn down the night. Coming just like the sunrise. You know that we gonna let it rain. Tonight, we gonna let it rain. Tonight, we gonna let it just like the sunrise. We gonna let it rain. Just like a spark that's breaking out. Can't make a stop, can't turn back now. We know that there's no room for doubt. No, we can't turn back now. I see danger in your eyes. They know we'll burn down the night. Coming just like the sunrise. You know that we gonna let it rain. Tonight, we gonna let it rain. Tonight, we gonna let it just like the sunrise. We gonna let it rain.
Hello, everyone. How are you? Hey, Never Silent. Hey, Freeside. I haven't seen you in a hot minute. How is everyone? I hope you're well. Oh, thank you, Scarlett. Yeah, so they're actively searching for that inmate in Pennsylvania. They still haven't found him. Hey, Jiraiya. Apparently, they have current sightings of him. So they're alive over there with that at Lost Souls, and we're over here with this. And then we're going back over there after. But y'all, I was reading some of this stuff, and y'all will not ever guess. I just have to read it to you now. I can't wait till the end of the life. How do y'all now? Hold on. I gotta find. All right. All right. Y'all know I was just in an airplane not too long ago, right? All right, here we go. Hey, what happened? Come back. Passengers' diarrhea forces Delta flight to turn back. A Delta flight from Atlanta to Barcelona was forced to turn around due to a passenger's diarrhea, which the pilot considered a biohazard issue, according to reports. Around 2 hours into the transatlantic flight last Friday, Flight 194 was reportedly asked to return to Georgia. We've had a passenger who's had diarrhea all the way through the plane, so they want us to come back to Atlanta, the pilot reportedly said to air traffic control in a recording shared on Twitter. In a statement to Insider, Delta confirmed the flight had been affected by a medical issue, which meant that the aircraft needed to return to Atlanta for cleaning. Our teams worked as quickly and safely as possible to thoroughly clean the airplane and get our customers to their final destination, the statement read. We sincerely apologize to our customers for the delay and inconvenience to their travel plans. I thought that was crazy. It's like I was just on an airplane. I don't hear anything. Hold on, y'all. Hold on. Sorry. So I thought it was crazy about the diarrhea in the airplane, and they had to totally turn that whole airplane around and go back to Georgia. If that would have been me, y'all, oh my god, I think I would have died or something. If the whole plane had to turn around, going to Spain, had to turn around and go back to Georgia because I pooped all over the airplane, like I would be so freaking embarrassed isn't the word for it. I feel so sorry for that person, literally feel so sorry for them. So here in Phoenix, a couple got 20 years in prison for torturing a child.
Ray Magliotti here. You need parts?
Oh, mute. How are those new wipers, Dave?
Big story. A mother and stepfather are facing charges, accused of what can only be described as torture of their young daughter. Police say they beat, starved, and waterboarded this girl for months before the child was hospitalized.
Advocates say that they're seeing more violence against children. And as Team 12's Michael Doudna explains, it takes everyone in the community to make it stop. And we do want to warn you that the details of this story may be a little bit difficult for some to watch.
For months, the alleged abuse happened in private, behind closed doors, in cars. And police say Chloe Ray Sargent and Kilo
Is that what this is about?
Wimbish committed horrific acts, waterboarding, beating, and underfeeding their 10-year-old girl.
It's not shock, it's not awe. It's the horrible reality that these are the kinds of things that we see at our center every day.
Daphne
Okay, I had to let Penelope out, sorry. The mother was sentenced to 20 years in prison. Phoenix police said the child sustained broken bones, numerous lacerations, bruises, and burn marks. A mother and her boyfriend have each been sentenced to 20 years in prison after admitting to abusing the woman's 10-year-old child. Chloe Ray Sargent, 27, and Keola Wimbish, 40, were arrested last year after Phoenix police observed significant injuries on the child. Police said at the time that the child sustained up to 12 broken bones, several lacerations, bruises, and burn marks. Some of the victim's wounds had become infected. Prosecutors said the abuse also includes withholding food from the victim and not providing medical care. Wimbish lived with the Sargent and the child at the time the abuse occurred. The victim was placed into protective services after the defendants were arrested last April. Each defendant pleaded guilty to child abuse and attempt to commit and attempt to commit child abuse. They will both be placed on probation for 10 years after completing their lengthy prison sentences. The abuse for this child suffered at the hands of the people who were supposed to love and care for her is horrific. I'm particularly grateful to this young victim who was willing to bravely tell her story. That's crazy. Now let's finish listening to this.
Young works for Child Help, an organization that helped this little girl. She can't comment on any single case directly, but says in recent years the number of child abuse cases has grown.
Much as I am horrified by that situation, I am not shocked.
In many cases, the abuse goes unreported. The victims, afraid to speak out against their own family.
Children will often do everything to protect their family because they're terrified of what will happen when the police walk away.
Despite months of abuse, it wouldn't be until December, when the family was apparently homeless, that the girl was separated from her parents. A medical evaluation found that she had 12 broken bones, among other serious injuries, and may have been starving.
Unimaginable abuse. It's unbelievable.
In 2019, the U.S. lost an average of 5 kids from abuse or neglect every day. Daphne says we can help by not being a bystander, to look out for signs of abuse, and be willing to report on something to potentially save lives.
So what's at stake is that child becoming one of 5 children that America loses every day. That's 5 dreams, that's 5 futures that are gone. And that's what we have to fight against.
Both parents are charged with felony child abuse counts and will have a day in court coming up next week. We're in Phoenix. Michael Doudna, 12 News.
All right, Michael, thank you.
Locked On NFL.
Yes, never silent. 20 years for doing that to a child is not enough. Hey, you know what? I don't know about public hangings, but they do have 3 states, I think, that have hanging still as a form of death penalty. Washington, and the other ones are like all the way in the northeastern part of the United States. I don't remember. But yeah. Arrested for murder at 5 a.m. and out of jail by 8 p.m. Sounds like my ex when he got arrested for beating me. He went to jail, and a couple of hours later, when he saw the judge released him. Okay. Woman found with someone's husband at his home is shot and killed. Stephanie Alexander, 51, was arrested on July 18th for killing Tyra Crosby, 25, after finding her in bed with her husband. According to reports, Tyra allegedly met the unidentified man at a club that past Monday. The two clocked eyes and spent the whole night together. After a few drinks, he invited her to his home, where he lives with his beautiful wife, Stephanie, who was away at the time. Unfortunately, she didn't know he was married and accepted the invitation with a lovely smile. The two left arm in arm and giggled all the way. When they arrived, they continued from where they had left and went to bed. However, in the early hours of Tuesday morning, Stephanie stormed in to get the shock of her life. After seeing her husband in bed with another woman, she blew up in anger and began assaulting Tyra for being till she eventually shot and killed Tyra. Reports from Charlotte Mecklenburg Police Department say this was before 5:30 a.m. Investigators found that Stephanie was the homeowner of the property and took her in for questioning as a prime suspect at the police headquarters. The interview resulted in the police charging Alexander with voluntary manslaughter. The police also interviewed the husband and took in his witness statement, which resulted in her being put in custody at the county jail on Tuesday, July 18th at 1:50 p.m. The CMPD released her on a $250,000 bond at 8:33 p.m. She made an appearance in court on Wednesday the 19th and is due to make another court appearance on August 7th. So she's out on bond, on a voluntary manslaughter charge, $250,000 bond. Recently, Tanya Hoskins, Tyra Crosby's mother, submitted new evidence to the CMPD that she received a voicemail recording from Tyra that could change the course of justice. On that tragic morning in the middle of being assaulted, Tyra called her mom, Tanya, for help. Unfortunately, she didn't get through to her mother, and the call went straight to voicemail. In the voicemail, Tanya claims Alexander can be heard brutally assaulting Tyra repeatedly moments before Alexander Shawn killed her. Tanya hoped that this recording would bring the right justice for her daughter's murder and that Alexander's charge would be increased from involuntary manslaughter to first-degree murder. She murdered my daughter at 5 a.m., and she was out by 8 p.m., Tanya said. This means human life means nothing anymore. On the 3rd of August, the county grand jury eventually indicted Alexander for a second-degree murder shooting of Tyra. According to BrowningLaw.com, the minimum sentencing for second-degree murder in North Carolina could be 10 to 16 years in prison, up to a life. Do you think that kind of sentencing deserves as equal punishment for the crime of passion, or does she deserve a long time in prison? According to the family, Alexander can be heard in the recording submitted to CMPD saying they were going to kill her, and then moments later sounded suspiciously regretful on the 911 call to the police when she reported the murder. What about him? He's on the call too. It says he beat her up. I don't know. I guess he'll just get away with it. I mean, he did give his statement, a witness statement to the police that got her charged. So maybe, I don't know. This is the face of domestic violence. Megan Montgomery's tragic story is far too common. She's so pretty. If you were to look at Megan Montgomery's Instagram account, you'd see a beautiful, smiling woman in the prime of her life. Her youth and fitness, the envy of women the world over. You'd even see some photos of her with her husband, #date night, with comments saying things like, "Aw, gorgeous couple." But beneath her picture-perfect feed was the story of a woman in an abusive relationship with her husband, one that would start with his arrest shortly after they got married, and end 10 months later with him shooting her to death in the parking lot. In a Facebook post, one of the people who was out with Megan that night of her murder detailed how her estranged husband had come to their table, put his hand on her neck and shoulder, and escorted her out of the building. She went with him willingly, but anyone familiar with the abusive relationships knows that willingly is a subjective term. He had reportedly threatened mass violence before. Perhaps she was trying to protect the people she was with. Perhaps staying felt more dangerous to her than going with him. The couple reportedly had a volatile relationship from the start, and at one point both had restraining orders against the other. Regardless, she was killed by the man who had claimed to love her, an ex-cop who had been arrested for domestic violence and had been bailed out multiple times prior to that evening. Feminist News wrote the gist of Megan's story on Facebook, sharing photos from the couple's wedding to illustrate how invisible domestic violence can be to those outside it. This is the face of domestic violence, they wrote. But what was perhaps most striking about the post was the deluge of comments from women describing their own experiences with domestic violence. Comment after comment explaining how a partner always made them think the abuse was their fault, how restraining orders were repeatedly violated, how they were charmed and loved into questioning whether the verbal abuse or physical violence was really that bad. Story after story of how they didn't see it coming, how slowly and insidiously it escalated, how terrifying it was to try to leave. Those of us who have not been in abusive relationships don't always understand why people don't leave them. But the dynamics of abuse, the emotional manipulation, the gaslighting, the self esteem destruction, the fear, and shame are well documented. Unfortunately, those dynamics can prove deadly. Domestic violence murders have been on the rise in recent years, going up to 19% between 2014 and 2017. And sadly, our justice system does not protect domestic violence survivors as well as it should. Part of the challenge of prosecuting in domestic violence cases is that victims are not always willing to cooperate, either out of fear or shame or embarrassment or unhealthy loyalty. According to some estimates, domestic violence victims recant their testimony up to 70% of the time. That's why some are pushing for evidence-based prosecution without requiring victim testimony, much like we try murder cases. And that, I think, would help a lot with domestic violence if it wasn't a misdemeanor and the state was able to prosecute without the victim at all. But some, like University of Maryland law professor Leah Goodmark, argue that pushing for more law enforcement has been proven to reduce domestic violence rates. Addressing issues of poverty, childhood trauma, attitudes toward gender equality, and other risk factors for domestic violence may be more effective by stopping violence before it starts. While abuse happens to both men and women, women are more likely to be victims and much more likely to be murdered by a partner. Thankfully, there are many resources for domestic violence survivors to seek help. Whether you're trying to determine if your relationship is abuse or trying to figure out if, when, and how to leave, the National Domestic Violence Hotline, www.thehotline.org, or call 1-800-799-7233. Never Silent, can you put that in the chat for me, please, so I can pin it? Thank you. Hey, Kaz, I didn't see you. Oh, I hope you feel better. Yes, Kaz, I did. Thank you. Okay, so the website is the National Domestic Violence Hotline. The website is www.thehotline.org or call 1-800-799-7233. Has a wealth of information on domestic violence and what to do about it. The website even has a live chat where you can get your questions answered and receive assistance making a safety plan for you and your family. Oh, that's awesome. If you are afraid of your partner or other loved one, there's something wrong. No one should live in fear of the people who are supposed to love them the most. That's true, but I can't say anything because I was one of those that didn't want to leave. All right, let me see. Let me see. 1-800-799-233. Domestic violence hotline. There we go. All right. Now let me come over here and put it on the screen. There we go. So if you or someone you know is going through domestic violence, the number is up on the screen or pinned in the chat. Always remember, guys, if you see something, say something. If you hear something, say something, or else this is never going to stop, ever. And I know people don't like to be heard because they don't want people to come back on them or they don't want to be involved or anything. I know how it feels. Just call and get someone that can help you get out. Never Silent dropped his link in the chat. He has amazing resources for homelessness, bullying, racism, transgender bullying, LGBTQI. I can't remember them all. Sorry, I tried. Bullying stuff, information on that, domestic violence, a lot of other information that you guys might find useful. I know he has a lot of information on his community page, right? I think you have links and stuff like that posted on your community page. I know I've known Never Silent for a good while now, since the beginning of my channel, and I've spoken to him personally and worked with him personally, so yeah, very trustworthy, very good resources. He's helped people not even in his state from YouTube, I do believe. It is. Because that's what I went through with my dad. And then I went through physical abuse with my ex. It was crazy. It's crazy. Dang, y'all ever heard of this girl right here? Holy guacamole. Texas teen who was subject of Amber Alert now facing murder charges. A Texas teen who was the subject of an Amber Alert last week has been located and is facing murder charges, along with the man initially believed to have abducted her, who remains at large. Racism, DV, child abuse, neglect. I didn't know if anything was after A, Never Silent. Immigrant, bullying, yes. Hey, Avery. Yes, exactly, Never Silent. Yeah, he's helped people not even in his state with resources to get help in their state. I think it was maybe someone off of YouTube. I'm not sure. I think it was online. So, Natalie Navarro, and it's not the same girl from Arizona. Her name's Alicia. Because when I saw the last name, I was like, what? Natalie Navarro, 17, is expected to be charged with murder in connection with the shooting death of 21-year-old Arturo Pena, the Garland Police Department said Friday. We're good, Avery. How are you? Did they catch him yet? Navarro was initially the subject of an Amber Alert issued by the Dallas Police Department early Friday when she was reported missing from an apartment complex in Far East Dallas. She was found safe in Webb County an hour later. Navarro is now in police custody, though she has not been formally charged. The teen is being considered an adult for charging purposes, he added. Yardy Martinez, 21, who was initially tied to Navarro's possible abduction, is still at large and wanted for murder. As of Sunday, Maldonado told the Post his whereabouts are still unknown. He is considered armed and dangerous. Pena of Mesquite was found dead from a gunshot wound in a vehicle in Audubon Park on Tuesday morning. The victim had been reported missing to the Dallas Police Department just 2 days earlier. We're trying to figure out exactly how they knew each other. Lieutenant Richard Maldonado of the GPD told Fox 4 of Pena's possible connection to Martinez and Navarro. We've yet to totally determine the motive, he added. This is the one that they are still searching for right here, with the long hair. We hope to get more when we talk to Natalie to see exactly what was going on, if these persons knew each other, if they had a relationship, if there was a falling out. Based on Navarro's Amber Alert, police think Martinez may be traveling in a gray four-door vehicle. He is also missing a front tooth, and this is the guy that they killed, right here with the glasses. Martinez has a criminal history, including a felony indictment for allegedly shooting a gun in a house last year. Pena's family reportedly fears that he may have already absconded to Mexico. Wow. As of Sunday morning, a GoFundMe in Pena's memory, started by his wife, Veronica Lopez, has raised over $2,600 of its $25,000 goal. This was in Dallas. So he very would just went straight down Texas to Mexico. Dude, that little girl's only 17 years old. This was 2 days ago. Oh yeah, let me get it, Avery. Sorry. I just saw. Have y'all ever heard of a TikTok challenge having to do with fear and or alcohol? I've heard of a TikTok challenge recently with that. I don't know the TikTok challenges unless something happens and it's talked about. I don't go on TikTok unless I open something from TikTok and I watch it go on. So, let me see. Wait, hold on one moment. Get this. Okay. I just couldn't believe. Avery, there is no link. Let me put the wife's name in here, chat, and then I'm gonna get the is it better now? Is it better yet? Okay, that's his wife's name, and this is just the GoFundMe in his memory. Oh, let me get his one. Hold on. Arturo. Arturo. All right. All right, and this is his name. There you go. For anyone wanting to search for the GoFundMe, I guess. There you go. So I saw this and I was like, holy what? Sixteen Bubbles finds elderly woman faith. But Avery, if you find it, you can find it for yourself. You can post the link in the chat. That'll be, if you don't mind. That way, anybody else in here who would like to.
An unbelievable discovery. A toddler in Coweta County now being credited for finding an elderly woman missing for 4 days.
The little boy was playing outside with his mom when he came across 82-year-old Nina Lipscomb.
CBS 46's Zach Summers in Sonoya, about 45 minutes south of Atlanta. With the reunion, you're going to see only on CBS 46. Zach, this is...
Look, buddy, get it.
It started as a typical Friday afternoon.
We were coming this way. This is kind of where the bubbles went.
Brittany Moore and her son Ethan were enjoying bubbles in their backyard off of Al Roberts Road in Sonoya.
Go get the bubbles, E.
The bubbles drifted toward the family's fence line. Ethan and the dogs chased them like they normally would, but something in the woods caught little Ethan's eyes.
And I went over there and I was like, what do you see, buddy? And he pointed and he said, feet.
Moore didn't see any feet. That is until the mom of two crouched down and looked where her son was pointing.
But if you get on his level...
Is it still breaking up? I had an issue with this when I went live with Crime Sleuthin' earlier. I almost wasn't able to go live with her. It started working like right when she was supposed to go live. Is it clearer now?
You can look through. You can see some of the broken stick, and that's where she was laying.
The woman in the woods was 82-year-old Nina Lipscomb. She was alive but disoriented.
They combed a 5 and a 10-mile radius, and there was no sign of her anywhere.
Karen Lipscomb said her mom has early onset Alzheimer's. She wandered from a nearby home where she was visiting family last Monday looking for her sister.
Her sister lived here in this house, but she passed away in March. But growing up, they lived on Glacier Road, which is right around the corner. Can you say hi? Hi, sugar.
This afternoon, Nina and her family met little Ethan. The toddler, they said, likely saved her life.
We pulled out every resource that we thought we needed, but it was a little boy, and she's very fond of children.
Two families forever connected because a little boy wanted to play with bubbles.
It took a child, and it took a child that was being worked by God.
Angel to angel.
Yeah, and believe it or not, Ethan found Nina less than a quarter of a mile from where she wandered off. Now, the Moore family, they refused reward money from the Lipscomb family. Nina is doing well. She's healthy. She will turn 83 on Friday. Live in Sonoya, Zach Summers, CBS 46 News.
An unbelievable
Oh my God. Are you really serious right now? Y'all heard the video, right? And I said, see, there is good news out there. It's not all bad in the world. And it's reading the article. Y'all having a party still? She called herself and called for help. First responder, oh wait. Hold, see, hear this part. Okay. I went over there and was like, what do you see, bud? And he pointed and said, feet. Said, more calm moment. She was a little confused and asked him once again what he had seen. He reiterated what he saw. Feet. Moore couldn't see anyone from where she was standing. There was certainly. She then crouched so she could get to her toddler's eye line. She saw a pair of feet. She panicked. If you get on his level and look through, you can see some of the broken sticks, and that's where she was laying, she said. I didn't know if I needed to go into fight or flight because I had my little boy out here, and the other was... She calmed herself and called for help. First responders arrived and checked on her, like disoriented. To check and soon realized it was 82-year-old Nina Lipscomb, who had been missing for 4 days and had her family worried sick. They had been working in tandem with authorities searching for her. Authorities and communities had been searching for her for over 4 days and even used thermal technology to find Lipscomb, but finally a toddler found her. And that's what I said. You go with a toddler in the woods in Pennsylvania to find this prisoner. I mean, you know, no one else saw it yet. Let's see. Let's see what it is. Same thing.
A toddler cracked a missing person.
The place where Ethan found the 82-year-old was less than a quarter of a mile from where she was last seen. We pulled out every resource we thought we needed, but it was a little boy, and she's very fond of children. Lipscomb's daughter Karen spoke to her mother, who later told her she had left the house to look for her sister. Her sister lived here in this house, but she passed away in March. But growing up, they lived on Glacier Road, which is oh, shush. Lipscomb is in the early stages of Alzheimer's, confirmed the family. She received treatment at the local hospital before returning home. She met with Ethan and said Tyler likely saved her life. Karen offered the Moore family money as a reward, but refused to accept any monetary reward. Karen gifted Ethan with toy Bubbles. I recognized it right off. The story of Bubbles is so innocent and yet effective, said Karen, before adding that a forever bond had been cemented between the two families. Ethan, the boy's mother, believes it was the work of God. It took a child who was being worked by God. We will always teach him what he did, how he played an impact. Y'all, that is so sweet. What about the diarrhea? Isn't that the sweetest thing? And then this is what I was talking about right here. This is... That's why I didn't know about it. A 12-year-old is in the hospital after being badly burned from a TikTok challenge. And I had never heard of such a thing. So I wanted to see if any of you guys have heard it. of it. It's a fire challenge.
New tonight, a Tucson mother is now pleading with the community after her son was severely burned after doing the so-called TikTok Fire Challenge. In the past, social media platform has faced major backlash, with experts saying the app is targeting kids, pushing specific content to users. 13 News reporter Alex Valdez spoke with the boy's mother and shares her desperate message for other parents.
He is very much a boy's boy. He is very much an outside boy. He wants to be outside playing.
Just 10 days after Corey Lee's 12th birthday, his natural curiosity became his mother's worst nightmare.
I wake up to just a blood-curdling scream. I just see my son on fire, and I flooded my kitchen because I took the hose and just sprayed him down as quickly as I could.
Roper believes her son became a victim of the TikTok Fire Challenge. Teens who do this challenge typically use a rubbing alcohol, an aerosol can, or lighter to create a big flame, all while catching their reaction on video.
It looks like he put the rubbing alcohol in his left hand and then lit it with his right, not realizing how quickly rubbing alcohol burns off.
Roper understands people asking why or how, but she says it's important to remember kids will be kids and often don't realize harsh outcomes. She says adding social media to the mix just brings a whole other level of pressure.
It is 100% targeted at kids because they don't know those limits. They don't know those boundaries. And it's like, no matter how much you try to protect them, this cruel world still sneaks in.
Even though it's a touchy subject, Roper is now encouraging other parents to talk with their children about the dangers because she says one child hurt by this challenge is already far too many.
At the end of the day, as parents, we have to pick those battles and say, you need to see this. You need to see what the consequences of this actions are.
This is something website founder and social media expert Dominic Mezzarino agrees with. He says parents need to talk with their children, especially since social media has so many hidden corners. Adding filters, parental controls, and monitoring can only go so far.
We are in the Wild West, but that's also where I would also encourage viewers to report things if there's concern. Take advantage of that, bring it to their light and say, this is of concern. And hitting that report button is useful.
Roper agrees, which is why she is begging every social media user, young and old, to report anything they find inappropriate, because hitting the report button can go a long way.
Hug your babies, and if you see something, say something, because even though it might not be affecting you, it might save somebody else.
That was really to listen to. I didn't know about this, but if you guys have heard of it and know anyone in the age range of TikTok age, please let them know how dangerous this challenge is. That little boy's whole body is burnt. He has burns on his whole body. Georgia father expected to be charged with murder after body of missing son 2 found at trash facility. Leilani, we're about to see how this works, boo-boo. On September 1st, East Point police announced the charges against Artavius North in connection with the death of 2-year-old Josiah Mitchell. Leilani, she was right there next. A Georgia father who authorities allege faked his toddler son's kidnapping last month is expected to be charged with murder after the boy's body was found at a trash facility. On September 1st, the East Point Police Department obtained warrants for Artavius North, 23, on charges of murder, concealing the death of another, and cruelty to children in connection with the death of a 2-year-old Josiah Mitchell. A body believed to be 2-year-old boy was recovered by authorities on August 23rd at a solid waste facility in East Point, an Atlanta suburb, according to the news outlets. Last Thursday, authorities announced that Josiah had been identified as the victim. Look how cute! He is too freaking cute, you guys. Look at that. With his tongue sticking out all. Authorities have not revealed a cause of death or motive for the violence. Josiah was reported missing on August 16th after his father, North, told police the boy had been kidnapped during an armed robbery, police said, per multiple reports. However, North was charged with making false statements and falsely reporting a crime after investigators were unable to find evidence related to his claims. It's not immediately clear if he has entered a plea or retained an attorney. Dude, I wonder if this guy got the idea from Leilani, because they're both in Georgia. She threw her baby in the trash and they found him in the landfill. Then now this dude in Georgia puts his son in the trash and he's found in the landfill? Really? After the toddler went missing, police searched areas near North's apartment complex and drained a small lake nearby. During a press conference last Wednesday, East Point Police Chief Sean Buchanan and Sergeant Ricky Michaud said, "We're happy to see it come to some closure, but everybody working this case was hoping the child was alive." East Point Police did not immediately respond to people's requests for comment on Tuesday. Let's go back and look at him. He's so precious. And then we have one more. One more. Woman shows moments leading up to her suicide attempt as a jarring reminder to everyone. And I left this one last on purpose. You can always tell when someone is going to attempt 2 months before. Not all depression looks the same. Sometimes people don't even realize they're depressed for a long time, while others go to great lengths to appear okay to the outside world. People who have functional depression, who still go to work, spend time with friends, and look to be enjoying life, may not seem depressed to those closest to them. This kind of masking can be done for many reasons, but a lot of times it's because they don't want other people to worry about them. But this could mean suicidal thoughts go unnoticed by loved ones. When people appear happy or as if they're handling everything well, others are much less likely to check in on them. When Bree Johnson uploaded a video with a quote that reads, "You can always tell when someone is going to attempt," the happy videos and pictures that followed contrasted the reality of her attempting. Johnson, who's a staff sergeant in the Air Force and mother of one, posted the short video in March with the caption, "Check up on your loved ones. It's not always obvious." This is a sentiment that has been expressed by people repeatedly, with a widely shared graphic that reminds people to check on their strong friends. The sentiment being that when people appear to be handling things well, no one checks in to make sure they're actually doing okay. Johnson's video is a harsh reminder that not everyone's smiling face is conveying joy. Sometimes smile and laughter are just a mask. So how are people supposed to know when someone is truly struggling when their outward behaviors seem to show everything is fine? 3 months before, Oh, I'm sorry. Got music and stuff on TikTok. Sorry. Check up on your loved ones. It's not always obvious. Hashtag FYP. Hashtag see her greatness. Hashtag mental health. Hashtag mental health matters. Hashtag recovery. Hashtag survivor. Hashtag awareness. Hashtag love. Hashtag meal talk. Hashtag for you. Knowing when to reach out can be tricky, but there can be subtle signs that may be easily missed. Social media posts may change subtly, like broadly asking for prayers frequently when they haven't been in the habit of doing that. Some people may post memes that are either sad or borderline dark humor when those may be out of the ordinary. There could be a lack of care around how much alcohol or drugs they're taking. Someone who's normally outgoing, canceling plans more frequently than usual, making jokes about death or suicide when it's not a normal conversation for them. A friend who's struggling may ask you about your final plans so they can bring up theirs without raising alarms. These are all things that can be easily overlooked if you don't know what to look for. But one of the best indicators that you need to reach out is any change, no matter how. But one of the best indicators that you need to reach out is any change, no matter how subtle, that makes you ask the question, I wonder what's going on with them. So many times we ignore the tiny alarm bells that go off in our bellies because we're on the lookout for the bigger, louder alarm bells. The tiny alarms are just as important. Now, how do you reach out? Several years ago, I noticed a subtle change in a friend's social media statuses that activated my tiny alarm bells. After waiting about a week or so to see if things went back to normal, I reached out. Never having spoken to this person outside of the comment section in our online running community, I wasn't sure how she would respond, but I sent a message that said something along the lines of, I just wanted to do a check-in with you. I noticed a change in your post, and I wanted you to know that I'm here if you need to talk. They responded that they were struggling with something pretty big that no one knew about. We spoke on the phone for a couple of hours with me mostly listening. They thanked me about a year later for seeing them when they felt no one else did. Reaching out doesn't have to be complicated. So try not to overthink it. A lot of times all it takes is genuinely asking how someone is doing and informing them that you want the real answer, not something surface. Then just listen without judgment and without unsolicited advice or commentary. Ask them what they need and follow through. Human connection, along with a reminder that you matter, can go a long way. That's really important. It really is important. And people just really need to listen to that article and just realize that not everyone is okay, and not everyone who seems okay is okay. And if you see something, say something, and if you hear something, say something. And on that note, y'all have a great night. Thank you for being here, and please hit that like button for me. Thank you.